All right, folks, welcome back to Brisket Medic, and this week we're going to be doing a reverse seared ribeye on the Weber Kettle. I've got my coals started up, and I'll tell you, I'm excited about this cook because this ribeye is absolutely enormous. I got this ribeye right here from HEB. Actually, I bought it when their prime rib was on sale, and cut 3 good sized steaks out of that prime rib. I've got the rest in the freezer, and we actually trimmed this one up a little bit earlier and salt and peppered it about 30 minutes ago and let it sit out here just to do a little bit of a dry brine because this is such a big, thick piece of meat. So we trimmed it up, we Frenched up the bone, we salt and peppered all the way around, and that salt has really soaked into most of the sides. Obviously, it's not going to penetrate the fat. We did trim off a little bit of the fat cap on the back here, just so we still had enough moisture for eating, but, you know, don't want to just have a mouthful of fat on this 2-inch steak. So we let that dry brine again. We're going to get this grill set up, get it ready to go, and get it thrown on there. And I'm going to show you how I like to set this Weber up for reverse sear. So we've got these coals set up and spread out how I like them. And we can go ahead and set the grate down right on top. Put this down. Now you notice they're a little full, so that grate's sticking up just a hair, but I'm going to put this piece of oak in there, and I'm going to get it fairly close to the coals but not directly over them. I just want it to do 2 things. It's going to keep that heat from blasting right onto the ribeye, and also it's going to add a little bit of that sweet smoke that post oak offers. When we lay this on there, we're going to be putting that bone side this way as well. That's for 2 things. That's to roast the bone, roast the marrow. That's not just for aesthetics, but it adds a little bit of flavor profile to the air, the smell, and the smoke. And so we're going to be adding that profile throughout the whole cook. So I'm going to get that there. I'm going to let that keep coming up to a raised temperature. I've got my bottom vents open approximately 1/3 of the way. My top vents are about the same. It's very important that we keep an eye on our grill and keeping it right around 300 degrees. So I'll be monitoring that at all times. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it. Let it come up to temperature. And once it's up to temperature, we're going to go ahead and throw our steak on. And I'll check on it every 20 minutes or so. I'll have a probe in it. We'll insert that probe. We'll check on it every 20 minutes or so until that internal temperature hits about 115. And I'll show you what we're going to do from there. So our grill is getting up to temp, and I'm going to go ahead and get our steak thrown on there. So you can see I'm putting it on the grill bone side with that fat protectant facing the fire. We're going to get as much protection from that fire as we can because we want this to be a pretty even cook. Now I'm going to take this probe and I'm going to put it right about there inside this steak. Alright, we've got our probe set, got our block here. It's going to be running fire block. It's going to give us that sweet smoke. Our fire's ready to go. Our steak's ready to go. Now we just sit, we let it do its work. While that's happening, let's go ahead and put together a compound butter. So about halfway through this reverse sear, we can start melting it down and getting it ready for basting as we sear. We want to make sure that we start off with a pan or pot that can be put into the smoker. This is a little metal pot that my wife got me some time ago. It's a good little sauce pot. Inside here I've got 1 bay leaf, and I'm going to go ahead and add 1 whole stick of butter. I sliced it in half. That's to make it easier to fit into the pot, but also to melt down a little bit evenly. Place that right on top of the bay leaf. Oop. Alright. And to that, we're going to add approximately the equivalent of a clove of minced garlic. So that's about right there. Maybe a little extra. Extra garlic never hurts anyone. Nobody's ever complained about extra garlic if nobody is me. So To that, we're going to add some Italian seasoning. I don't have any fresh herbs. I almost never keep fresh herbs. It's just not my style of cooking. But about a teaspoon of this Italian seasoning is pretty well perfect for some amazing compound butter. And we're going to let that sit. We're going to put that in the grill while this thing is reverse searing here in about 20 minutes or so that it can start melting down, so that by the time we're getting ready to pick it up and sear it off, this will be ready to go. We'll be able to slap it on the steak. We're about 20 minutes in. The temperature on the grill's right at around 303, 305, somewhere in there. And the internal temperature of our steak is at 70 degrees. It means we need to go ahead and stick our butter on here. It's the first time we've opened it since we started the cook. It's starting to get a little bit of color to it. I'm going to go ahead and move this over so we get a little bit more smoke. And the Maillard reaction when we sear this thing is going to be absolutely amazing. Let's get this butter sat down. Another 20-30 minutes. This will be at the internal temperature of 115, and that's my target. So we can go ahead and sear it off to a perfect medium rare finish. Our internal temperature is sitting right at 117 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off of the pit, set it on a plate, and get it tinted so that we can get this fire up to a blazing hot heat so we can get it seared off, finished up, test it out. Guys, now that this has been tinted for just a few minutes, we're going to get this fire up to a raging flame. We're going to throw the steak on there and get that seared off on both sides. We don't want to cook it too long on both sides, but just enough to get that beautiful Maillard reaction and get that beautiful sear when we dab our butter on it. Okay folks, here's the moment of truth. I probed it in the very center at 133 degrees internal temperature. So I'm hoping that this baby is perfectly cooked like it should be, because I did everything the way I should. Get this off, move to the side. All right guys, let's pick it up. Let's look at it. I'm gonna start by cutting this bone off the back side here. These are all the good yummies. That's something delicious to chew on later. And ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let's go ahead and take a slice here, see how it looks. Beautiful. Make about 1/2-inch slices. Oh my goodness. I'd rather do this than a prime rib any day of the week. Yeah, I don't know how this is picking up on the camera, but that is wall-to-wall pink with a great crust on the outside. I mean, it's just amazing looking. I've never cut a steak this large in my life, and I'm so happy I get to do it. Again, I don't know how that's picking up with the amount of light that's coming off of here. Here, let me adjust this light some, because it's a little harsh, but my gosh, that's beautiful. Wall-to-wall pink. Delicious looking, amazing crust. Just awesome. So freaking good, guys. That's absolutely delicious. On this episode, we trimmed up, we dry brined, we reverse seared on the Weber kettle with B&B lump charcoal. Throw a stick of oak on there for some of that sweet smoke. Made up a little bit of a compound butter, stuck some on there, flipped it a few times over the open fire after we got our right internal temperature. Took it off, we rested a little bit, and now you see this beautiful, perfect, amazing, giant ribeye steak. I'm so happy with this, guys. I hope you get out and try the same thing. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment down below how you like your steak cooked, whether it be with a different kind of compound butter, whether you like to just sear it and not reverse sear it, whatever. Let me know down below. I love you guys. Drink more water.